The Shadow Brexit Secretary, Sir Keir Starmer, is with me. Thanks for coming in, Sir Keir.
Morning.
Good morning to you. Now, it was a terrible result for Labour, and clearly what happened was that voters were trying to decide about Brexit. It seemed to be a Brexit by-election, and they looked at the Labour Party and they said, we don't really understand whether you're in favour or against. If you're against Brexit, the Lib Dems are the obvious choice.
Well, we're living in turbulent political times,
Yeah.
and that's clearly an interpretation of the by-election. But I do think it's really important just to stand back from this, because what we've seen, or what we are seeing, is a country more divided than we've ever seen it, more than I can ever remember. And the Tories and UKIP are speaking only for a group within the 52%. They're building a future around that group. And understandably, the 48%, you can feel this across the country. I've been across the country. They feel that they're being written out of their own history. But just let me complete this, because it is important. The Lib Dems have then taken the opportunity to speak to the 48%. They've got nothing to say to the 52%. So you've got the Tories and UKIP saying the 52%, forget the 48. You've got the Lib Dems saying the 48%. Now, Labour...
And you guys being squeezed to pieces in the middle.
We have members and we have voters and we have MPs in both camps, and we have to bring this country back together. We cannot build on this divide, nor should we try to. Somebody somehow has to bring this country back together, and Labour can do that by understanding the core reasons that Brexit happened.
The implication of what you're saying is that if you're a voter in England and you're really, really cross about Brexit and you want to vote against Brexit, don't vote Labour. Choose the Liberal Democrats.
No, I think that we all have to accept and respect the referendum outcome. I campaigned to stay in the EU. I would have expected the result to be honoured had we won that. So we have to accept it. But we have to fight against hard Brexit, because that's what the Prime Minister flagged up in her conference speech. There's now veering in the Tory party between hard Brexit and some undefined other Brexit. But in the end, we can't live for the next generation with this fundamental split. We have to find a way forward that brings the two sides, as it were, back together. And Labour's position on this has been accept the result, fight against hard Brexit. That is to bring the two sides back together. So, of course, it's a challenge, I accept that. It is actually an opportunity for Labour, if it sticks to its values, to draw people together.
In the spirit of that, John McDonnell, the Shadow Chancellor, has said that there are great opportunities for Britain in Brexit. What are they?
Well, the opportunity is to bring people back together. I mean, John said great opportunities. I've always said there are real risks in Brexit. We've got to get this right. The risk is hard Brexit. And John and I completely agree on this. And Labour said this throughout and constantly, that we have to avoid something which is outside the single market, outside the customs union, and an arm's-length relationship with our EU partners. We have to avoid that. And that's what the Labour Party is fighting.
You don't sound very pumped up about the prospects for Britain after Brexit.
I think that we have to get ourselves to a position where we are arguing for the best possible outcome. That's what the Labour Party is arguing for. But we have to be clear that that is not hard Brexit.
Can we come on to how you're going to achieve that? Because you don't have a majority in the House of Commons, and at the moment your policy is to push ahead with Article 50. Move it forward. You're not going to oppose it. So how can you possibly get your version of whatever kind of Brexit you want to happen?
What I've been arguing for, what we've been arguing for, is that the government must put its basic plan before Parliament, so we can discuss it. At the moment, and you're doing the same this morning, we're all going through trying to find fragments of evidence as to what approach they're going to take.
It's becoming clearer, I'd suggest.
Well, I don't know about that. There are two very different versions of our future. One is that isolated hard Brexit. The other is a collaborative, cooperative Brexit. That's the one that the Labour Party wants to fight for. We can only fight for it if we get the government to put the plan before Parliament.
So what do you say to those people up and down the country who say politics is in total flux, as you said at the beginning of the interview, everything is moving around. This is the time for a new progressive coalition or alliance between your party, the Liberal Democrats, the Greens and others?
Well, I don't see how that alliance can really work, because the Liberal Democrats are only speaking for half the nation. The Labour Party has to speak for the whole nation. This is a chance for us to pull the nation back together. We have to take that chance. So an alliance with... What do the Liberal Democrats say to the 52%? What are they saying?
You're wrong.
That's
what they're saying, I think.
You cannot hope to govern the country if you can't speak to both sides of a divided country.
Now, we've got the Supreme Court ruling coming next week. Now, you want to amend or have some influence when the Article 50 moment comes. And at the moment, the government seems to be suggesting it'll be a really short 16-word motion just allowing Article 50 to be triggered. Do you think the Supreme Court has to get involved in the kind of say that Parliament gets?
Well, I think that the Prime Minister should not have appealed. She's wasted a month or two of valuable time. Having done so, David Davis has always said that one of the reasons is to get some clarity about the sort of legislation that's needed. So if the Supreme Court can provide that clarity, I think that will help all of us. I've always thought it would be a short-form bill, but if the government is appealing in order to get the clarity, then it needs to get that clarity.
We're going to be talking to Paul Nuttall in a minute. What's your message to UKIP? They think they can take your seats in the north.
Well, UKIP is the party that says we should crash out of Brexit without even negotiating the best position. Now, I've been in the north this week and last week. There are companies there, there are communities there that will go to the wall if that happens. So I'd like to see them go and take the message to ordinary people in the north saying, you know, we want to take you out and crash your jobs.